that's prepping for nuclear war. It's not that kind of thing. It's like very practical stuff. Like if your kid's on a field trip and he gets separated from the class, what should they do? You know, it's very, very practical things for to help keep kids safe. So I hope you guys will go and check it out. Don't delay. Give the gift of safety and peace of mind this holiday season and empower young adults in your life to face modern-day dangers with confidence. That's www.staysafedigitalacademy.com. Use the code TEAMHOUSE at checkout to instantly save $10 and help young people protect themselves. We'll have a link down in the description for you guys as well to click on. So without further ado, Craig, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy being here.
So, Craig, we'd like to start at the beginning with our guests, ask them about their origin story. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up and how that took you towards the military.
My father was in the military. He was in the Coast Guard. He served in the Pacific World War II. He was a war dispenser, and he was also he was a stag officer. He was on the LST 793 invasions of Okinawa. And so every 3 years we would move. You know, if you're a military family, every 3 years you pack up your stuff and you move. Well, the Coast Guard is in the East Coast and West Coast. We went to Japan for 4 years as well. But so we crisscross the country many, many times. So when someone says, "Where are you from?" I say, "Well, right here." But I lived up in the city of the Army base because the Coast Guard didn't have a base facilities at the time. My brothers and I, when I was 10 years old, I got a visit at school from the FBI to look for the grenades that my brothers and his friends had borrowed from Marty Hooker. And they gave it to me to try. They would let me fall at 10. I was too young. But I got to carry them in my backpack. And as we were down on Baker Beach, and they would throw them in the ocean and they'd explode. Fish would come up, and peas would climb out the far end of the beach, and they would say, "Halt," which to us kids meant run. And I said halt, which means run faster. So we would scramble up these cliffs, and we'd hide out. Eventually, I think the guys get caught. So I'm in school, and I think my brothers told me to hide these and go bury them. I buried them in the woods, and a day later I got an FBI, two FBI agents. I think I was 4th grade or something, and got me out of school to go dig them up. My brothers at the time, the colonels, ended up going, I think they ended up doing once a week they had a report into the FBI to say, yeah, we're not doing anything. Well, because I was 10, they probably looked at me like I was young, which by the way carried well into my teenage. Yeah, so I grew up in as I said, a military family. On the Pacific right next to us, we lived in the complex, was a Vietnamese family, and this is 1960. And my parents were godparents to a couple of their children, so I got to know some of the Vietnamese. So now you go flash forward to 1967, 68. I graduated in 68. And my two older brothers were drafted. My oldest brother became an artillery officer, and my other brother ended up having health issues, and he got out. And so I wanted to join because, when you're 18 and young and dumb and you weigh like 140 pounds, I want to go fight. So went down to recruit for the Marines. The Marine recruiting was not there, and probably was a good thing for the Marines. And our recruiter was there with two pictures of us and said, "Hey, what do you want? Give me anything." Of course, I signed up to go to the ASVAB test. Apparently I did pretty well in the ASVAB test, and he goes, "You are in Army intelligence." So I signed up for something called implementation. Went through basic training. I did a little bit of basic. I realized, I like shooting, and I shoot so much better when my eyes go open. I did really well. I went off to Fort Hollywood, Maryland to the intelligence school, and I got so bored that I asked to drop out and volunteer for infantry. Now, I was 18. You can make fun of me all you want, but it's like, this is not the Army I signed up for. I wanted to do something. So I thought my platoon sergeant was going to cry, took me into the lieutenant. I said, "Yes, sir, I'll volunteer for infantry." I thought he was going to cry. He took me into the sergeant major. Sergeant major says, "Kid, we don't want to do this." So the second I want to go Vietnam training in snow. So I volunteered for locals. And then I think all three, the sergeant, and then the sergeant made the client. Got down to the four locals close to the Vietnam and the head of this one. What did he see was good. I did okay, but got over to Vietnam and when you first arrived at the Rebel Depot, you know, you saw this guy come out with black beret, Ranger stroll, snarky, spit all his conference, and you know, they say, yeah, we're looking for volunteers. So about 40 of us, you guys, thought, we'll consider Rangers and listen to this guy. And, you know, of course, you go and listen to him. He says, you know, if we go on 5 days at a time, come back in, have a 2-day stand out, then you go back for 5 more days. He says, well, how long does the infantry go on? He says, oh, we'll go on for weeks at a time. There's 110 people who go to the bar. If you go 5 guys, he said, how many people? He said, 5, and half the people in the stands were volunteers left. And the remainder of us, we ended up volunteering. And then we got a helicopter ride up to Foot Bend. Got to the Ranger Company, put us in the Ranger tent, and RIP didn't exist back then. Harassment and RIP sort of, we had a typical Ranger training course was a work course. And, you know, began in the morning at about 30. Sometimes some of the Rangers would wake us up with a CS grenade. Toss it into a tent. I mean, our tent is full of the platoon-sized tent. We got hot. I don't think we had, I don't think we had lockers. We had nothing but your duffel bag because from day to day, if you didn't pass the training and you had a test, you didn't pass the test, you were gone. So we put some sandbags all around it. Pretty good and in the rainy season, which it was, they'd have us crawl with the mud out to the road. We did it.
Focuses on the origin story of the Dutton family from Yellowstone. One of our main protagonists is John Dutton's great-grandfather, James Dutton, who embarks on a journey west with his family. James is a former Confederate soldier who spent 3 years in the Union prison until the end of the Civil War, and since then he has turned his life around with his family. He and his wife Margaret have 2 children, Elsa and John, and one of the main theories is that this little fella is the grandfather of John Dutton from Yellowstone. The Dutton family is leaving Tennessee for a better life in the Northwest. Margaret and the kids take the train to Fort Worth, Texas, alongside James' sister Claire and her daughter Mary, while James brings their belongings to Texas with a horse wagon. They will rebuild there and start their journey alone. Just outside Fort Worth, we see James being chased by half a dozen bandits, and he's beginning to hold his own. His shooting skills combined with his tactical awareness impresses 2 strangers watching from a distance. These 2 are fingertips who work for the International Detective Agency, which is a private security and detective firm founded in the 1850s. The man on the right is Shady Brennan, and next to him is his right-hand man Thomas. They fought together in the Civil War, which is why Thomas keeps calling Shady Captain. The Pinkerton Agency was known to hire minorities from the get-go, which is how Thomas is able to work for them in this time period. Shade, on the other hand, has recently lost his entire family to smallpox, and at the start of episode 1, he's got a gun to his head, but he can't go through with it. Sam Elliott does an excellent job of illustrating the pain this character is feeling. But coming back to the main event, Nickens approaches James after he takes care of the bandits, and James is understandably like, thanks for the help. must say he's not happy that they just watched from a distance. Nonetheless, they help him out with some advice, as they want him not to take the bandits' horses because that would attract unwanted attention, and he listens to their advice. James then goes into town where he is pickpocketed after he makes some storage room at guard for his wagon. He shoots the thief in the ass before he can run away. He retrieves his wallet and the crowd lynches the thief. Once again, he sprays the brutal of this area and this time period. And it makes it clear that you can't relax for a single second because somebody's out to get you at all times. James makes his way to the hotel as we spend a bit of time on the train. We learn that James's sister Claire is quite uptight. She doesn't like the way Elsa has been raised because she has been given too much feeding, according to Claire. And after Margaret finds Elsa flirting with a stranger, Claire shows Margaret the quote-unquote proper way to discipline Elsa by repeatedly slapping her. Talking of Elsa, the episode actually kicks off with a scene from the future, and Elsa is at the center of it. A wagon convoy has been hit by a group of pygmies, and Elsa is fighting for survival. She's able to retrieve a gun and shoot one of the attackers, but she gets wounded by an arrow for her troubles. This flash-forward sequence definitely keeps us on the edge of our seats, wondering when the attack is going to take place, and it gives us an inevitable sense of doom because we know that the convoy will get attacked, and that Elsa will be wounded. We don't have to wait until then to see Elsa in danger though, because after she and the rest of the family arrive in Fort Worth, there's an unfortunate mix-up at the hotel where a drunkard gets into Elsa and John's room, and this idiot tries to get his way with Elsa. Luckily though, James arrives just in time to neutralize the threat. James' body count is going up a bit, even though we are only in episode 1, but no complaints here. That's exactly why I'm watching. James and Shay cross paths again because Shay is taking a group of European immigrants up north on a convoy, and these guys don't know how to swim, they haven't got any weapons, they don't really know how to ride horses, which is why Shay needs all the help he can get on this journey. James is hesitant at first, but he accepts the offer following the attack on Elsa, thinking that they will be safer with the convoy. Elsewhere, a lady of the evening approaches Shay, and she tries to get it on with him. She figures out that Shay has lost someone, and after learning her name, she tells Shay that he can use that name to address her. Shay simply pushes her away. Her pimp tries to intervene, but Shay immediately pulls his pistol and goes, quote, "Know what I'm doing here? Looking for a reason. You want to be my reason?" The pimp is like, "No," and Shay orders him to sit the freak down. Shay then approaches the gal, whispers his wife's name in her ear, basically trying out what she said they should do in a satirical way, of course, and after a few seconds, Shay says, "Doesn't work," and goes on his way. This was my favorite from the premiere because it perfectly displays Shay's no-nonsense attitude, and I like a man that doesn't drink, doesn't gamble, and doesn't fool around with horse. And Shay all the way. Episode 2 kicks off with a flashback to the Civil War. The show recreates a real scene from the Battle of Antietam. History buffs might like this one. This was one of the deadliest days in the U.S. history, and we see how James got captured by the Union Army. There's a Tom Hanks cameo here, and he plays a Union soldier by the name of George. He's a general, but this is the only time we see him. Elsa's voiceover reveals that James doesn't talk about the war at all, and when he's recognized by somebody from those days, he just turns around and walks away. Fair to say he's not too fond of those memories. The convoy sets up camp a body miles off of Fort Worth as they prepare for the journey ahead. Sheriff Thomas struck a deal in episode 1 to acquire a bunch of mules and horses in exchange for the immigrants' hogs, so that part is done, but they still need some cattle for food. Hired two cowboys and some weights to round up a bunch of wild cattle because they can't afford to buy them. And even with these additions to the team, they are still short-handed, so Elsa gets involved in the roundup as well. They come across a bunch of familiar cowboys on their way. They help out too, and this mission is successful. They've got their food. This part was good for Elsa's development as she had a chance to show off her horse riding skills, and overall this is her deal with him. She is expected to be a lady, but at heart she is her father's girl. So instead she wants to be a cowboy. This conflict is at the heart of 1883. A bunch of bandits approach the campsite to use the river while the roundup is taking place, but Claire, being the as she is, starts throwing rocks at these guys, which obviously provokes them. They come back and attack the camp. They kill a few Indians as well as Claire's daughter. And Claire had recently lost her husband. That's why she joined James on this journey in the first place, because she had nowhere to go. And now her daughter is dead too. James and the Pinkertons go to Marshall Jimmy Cortite to take care of these bandits, and the Marshal, who is based on a real-life character, is played by Billy Bob Thornton. He deputizes James before going after the bandits, and one of the immigrants shows the Marshal who attacked the camp. The Marshal starts his inquiry, or so we think, because he just starts blasting these guys, and boom, all of the soul in 10 seconds, and the Marshal goes, quote, "If anybody here fancies himself a government, you're in the wrong town. There's only one killer in Fort Worth, and that's me," end quote. That is definitely one way to take care of this problem, but this approach poses a threat to everyone at the camp, because the locals will be resentful, which is why the cowboy has to get going in the morning. Claire has no intention of leaving because this is the 7th child she has lost, and she thinks she has no reason to live anymore, so she offers herself next to her daughter's grave. Shay admires her courage because he couldn't go through with this deed himself at the start of episode 1. In the meantime, one of the cowboys, Vince, keeps flirting with Elsa. Her voiceover at the end of the episode reads, quote, "We were backing into the abyss. So worried our sins would follow us, we didn't bother watching where we walked. And behind this was a plan." End quote. That's a warning to us about the chaos that is about to ensue over the course of this journey.
This is that game fast. If you want to drop, start hitting for these. You might think this will take years to learn, but I'm going to teach it to you in 6.
Episode 3 opens up with a montage of deaths. There are various wagon accidents and snake attacks which regularly kill pioneers, and also reveals that with every death, her father James moves the death camp farther away from the main group, as if carelessness is its own disease. But one thing scares the group more than anything else: river. That's because snake attacks are usually isolated. You can fight bandits off if there aren't too many of them. Sickness isn't always contagious, and if it is, you can leave the sick behind and hope for the best. But for the most part, the wagon train can deal with those problems and move on. What they can't easily deal with, however, is coming across a river that's a little bit too deep. Because if the wagons can't cross the river, it could delay the journey for days, if not for weeks. That's the conundrum Shay and James are facing at the start of episode 3. James thinks they should head west and go up north from there, while Shay is wary of this idea because West Texas is too dangerous for this group. There are too many bandits out there. Water is a problem, and so is the reservation. That's why Shay wants to head east and take the ferry in the city of Denison to cross the Red River. James makes it clear that he doesn't work for Shay, so he'll do whatever he would like, which is why he's gonna go west. This butting of heads is definitely interesting from a dramatic standpoint because both of these men are leaders and neither of them want to back down. James only thinks about his family's well-being and doesn't care about what happens to the pioneers because that is Shay's responsibility. Shay has to think about everybody. After James departs from the city, Thomas chimes in to say that going east would mean losing a lot of valuable time before winter, and Shay points out that if they go west, they'll have to cross the Brazos River. Thomas argues that in their position there are no good options, but the worst option is winter, because if they go east and delay their journey, they'll be on the trail during winter. So Thomas agrees with James that they shouldn't go east. Moving on to the Dunn family, Margaret and Elsa help in some way hold the cattle herd because the other cowboys who were temporarily helping the convoy are going back to base. James and John in the meantime go hunting, and even though James tells John to keep it quiet not to scare away the deer, John can't help himself because he's a kid, so he keeps asking questions, which is just hilarious and entirely realistic, and I had a smile on my face throughout this exchange. James eventually spots the deer and lets John pull the trigger. John gets his first kill, which is why James bloods him when they get to the deer, saying, quote, "You took a life to keep us alive." End quote. The show is making a point about the difference between hunting for food and hunting for hunting's sake. James and John eventually gets back to camp where Shay is waiting for them. He has already stoked the fire so James can immediately start cooking, and James asks Shay if he's hungry. He says he's never turned down fresh meat, but at the end of their heated exchange, James doesn't offer Shay any meat. That is rude, and it tells you the type of person James is and what his relationship with Shay is like. Like we said before, the only thing James cares about in this world is his family. And when Shay says he can't have James question his authority, James doesn't react so well. That's kind of why he doesn't share it. Despite this conflict, they decide to go west in the end. Shay also has to deal with a widow who has lost her husband during the bandit attack at the end of episode 2. Her name is Noemi, and she's got 2 kids. She has no idea how to deal with her wagon or her horses, and she's having a bit of a nervous breakdown, so Thomas and Shay help her out. Noemi immediately wants to become Shay's wife because in her situation, when you lose your husband during a journey, you usually need a man who will take care of you. Noemi knows that. But Shay stops her advances, and he says he will help her and her kids even if they don't marry. Thomas enters the fray following this exchange. He jokes around with Shay about how lucky Noemi is because she doesn't have to deal with him. Then Thomas approaches Noemi to assure her that whenever they get to Oregon, the men will court her and she'll have a new family. Thomas says she shouldn't want anything to do with Shay because happiness runs from him like a scalded dog. Then the Pinkers and Doodle find out that a bunch of men took Noemi's food, so they pay these lucky guys a big visit. They claim that Noemi's husband was a thief and stole the food from them in the first place. But according to them, they're only taking back what was theirs. But Shay doesn't care about that as they stole from a widow. Shay beats them up, wrecks their wagon, and tells them they are no longer part of the Commonwealth. One of these guys is too brave for his own good, so he finds himself in the middle of a standoff with Shay later in the episode. It doesn't look like he's handled any guns before, so Shay's got him back to rights, and Shay approaches him, saying that he's fired his rifle so many times around these parts, his barrel melted, so he killed with his pistol. And when he ran out of bullets, he killed with his sword. And when his sword broke, he killed with his boots and bare hands. Here, Shay is alluding to the Civil War days when he was a Union captain. Tanner's delivery is simply haunting, and that unmistakable voice sends a shiver down your spine, which is why this guy breaks down in front of everybody. Shay had warned them that he would kill them if they ever came back, but he doesn't go through with this promise because that would turn all the pioneers against him. Thomas and Shay had a conversation about optics earlier in the episode, and Shay takes Thomas's advice by not killing these men in front of everybody. Last but not least, James tells Ace that he can court Elsa. I loved how Ace tried to crack a joke and James gave him a deadly look, so Ace was like, oh crap, I'm in trouble here. So yeah, this romance is building a bed of steam. It only seems featuring Elsa and it is incredibly cute.
Gabapentin is bringing you closer to amputation. These are 3 symptoms that are signaling that you could be close to losing your foot. I'm going to show you.
We start episode 4 with another monologue from Elsa as she compares her identity crisis to the land around. She sees her unfinished soul when she looks at the Texas landscape, and she says, over both of them there's a war between what they should become and what they could become. Elsa goes on to reveal that her war is over, and she's decided she wants to be a cowboy. And as she's going to be spending a lot of time on her horse, she needs to make some wardrobe changes, so she buys some pants from an England couple in exchange for gold. And we learn during this conversation that James sold most of his belongings before this journey and turned his stuff into jewelry. Once again, it seems clear that James is a smart cookie, even though he is also a dreamer. Unlike most other dreamers, James seems to have a plan to realize that dream. Elsa holds the herd with Ace that day. Ace already can't believe she's wearing pants because that wasn't something you saw every day, a woman wearing pants. From their bafflement was fun to see. Moving on, the wagon convoy is almost ready to cross over to West Texas, but the Baptist River stands in their way. This river does get quite shallow at certain times in certain locations, but it is relatively deep where our characters are, so crossing it will not be easy. Thomas, Shane, James, Wade, and Joseph gather around to discuss strategy. Joseph mentions the fact that his people don't know how to swim because it was illegal where they came from. He says they whipped people that swam. Wade gives his 2 cents, saying they should ferry people across first. The wagons will be next, and the cattle herd will be the last group to cross. Shay calls James a farmer as they're discussing how to enact this plan, which gets a reaction out of James as he says he ain't a farmer. Shay says he was, and James brings up the fact that he was also a captain, but he doesn't call himself that anymore, referring to the Civil War when he was a Confederate soldier. Shay believes this talking back started by James is getting contagious because Wade also keeps giving his opinion as if someone asked him to. Thomas thinks Shay needs to have a word with that farmer, a word that sticks. He then says, quote, "How you do it? I'll make sure it sticks." But Shay knows they're going to need James' help when they get to their territories, so he's not willing to sour their relationship just yet. After Joseph leaves, Shay expresses how surprised he is by the fact that Joseph and company are choosing to stay here rather than go back to the hell they know. Shay believes the unknown is the most terrifying thing on this planet, but Thomas disagrees, telling him that he thinks that way because he's never been whipped. Quote, "Let someone put a whip to your back and tell me the unknown is what scares you." That's why Thomas thinks these immigrants are never going home. That's why they are here, risking their lives for a better life. Thomas shows his caring side to us when Noemi tries to strike up a conversation with him. He gets what she's trying to do. He knows whatever happens between them probably can't end well, but Noemi tries to tell him that this is a free country. Thomas argues there are degrees of freedom. In the end, she says she just wants to watch and eat, and he's like, okay, so he lets her sit there and watch. Later on, Thomas approaches Shay as he's waking up from a nightmare. Shay was reliving some of his memories from the Civil War. He says that's exactly why he doesn't like to sleep. He's not peaceful. Thomas flips the script once again, saying that because of what he went through when he was a kid, they used to love sleep because their real lives were the nightmare. Another awesome interaction between these two. In the meantime, James wants his wagon to cross the river at night before everyone else to avoid any shenanigans that might occur. Margaret is the one that rides the wagon, and the actress, Bethel, actually does a brilliant job of conveying Margaret's anxiety, as this is a dangerous endeavor. Just before this, James catches Elsa as she's kissing Dennis, and we have another funny moment here when Dennis wonders if James is going to show him, and James says he's thinking about it. James then has a chat with Elsa, accepting that he can't treat her like an adult when it's useful and can go back to treating her like a child. Dennis and Elsa continue holding the herd, while James goes back to take care of his wagon. In the morning, we have a scene depicting the sacrifices these people have to make in order to complete their journey. Jay tells them that until they make their way up north, they're not carpenters or blacksmiths or musicians. The journey requires them to forego all of that. Everyone on the convoy has to remove stuff that is not absolutely necessary, because otherwise they will not be able to cross the river. Jay is once again quite harsh, but this is what the group needs. He knows that if he tries to be nice, they're just going to ignore him, so he has to treat them this way to get his point across. They ferry people over, which goes smoothly for the most part, but that wasn't the difficult bit anyway. Getting the wagons across is the second task, and there are some accidents here. 3 people die. Margaret tries to save one of them, but she's unsuccessful, and this takes its toll on her. Now lastly, the cattle herd gets across just fine. Most of this takes place as Elsa is playing the piano that was left behind. She chooses to play the Moonlight Sonata by Beethoven, which is definitely a sad composition. So Ennis asks her if she knows any happy songs. She says she never had any interest in the happy ones. Elsa's monologue at the end of the episode relates back to the Sonata as well. She goes, quote, "Somehow I felt immune to the dangers of this place, as if the land and I had struck a deal. I could pass unharmed so long as I loved it, and I did. I loved everything about it. But crossing the Brazos taught me that there was no deal. No matter how much we love it, the land will never love us back." End quote. It is widely claimed that Basil wrote the woman Sonata about a countess who didn't love him back, and on the show, Elsa says the land doesn't love them back. So I think that's the significance of this musical choice, and I thought that was neat. Episode 5 is all about Elsa and Annis as they decide to consummate their relationship, but how do they actually get there? Well, Elsa hasn't been to her family's wagon in a while because she's been watching the herd with Annis away. Margaret figures it's time to have a chat with her daughter and tell her what's what. So she approaches Elsa, telling her she smells like a goat. Margaret decides to kill two birds with one stone, meaning they have their little chat as they bathe in the river. Margaret tries to warn her daughter that there is no such thing as freedom, because there will always be limiting factors like laws or customs or responsibilities, and the more people you cram together, the more limits you'll have. She's trying to say that Elsa will never be as free as she is right now on this journey. She also says the only rules Elsa needs to follow are the ones in her heart. The moment they're sharing, it's interrupted by Annis as he tries to tell them they're moving camps soon. This was another example of a comic relief scene, and Annis is brilliant in these. He has no idea what he should do after seeing them in the river naked, and his awkwardness is always great to watch. That night, Elsa does follow the rules in her heart, like her mother said. She does the deed with Annis, if you know what I mean. But they're a couple of dumb kids, so they do it somewhat close to camp, and basically everybody hears them. Margaret even comes looking and sees them doing it, which was a weird moment. Elsa and Margaret have another chat in the morning, with Margaret urging Elsa to be careful because there are consequences to every action. In this instance, that consequence would be a baby. Margaret tells Elsa she's going to have to look after that baby, so she has to be sure that Annis is man enough to raise the baby with her. This is followed up by an incredibly cute scene as Elsa approaches Annis all serious, asking if he's man enough to raise their baby if they have one. Annis doesn't know what hit him at first, but goes on to say, "Yeah, I'm man enough," though he doubts he's lucky enough to have a child with him. Just like everyone else in the convoy, James knows what's happened, so he's ready to kick the crap out of Annis, but Elsa intervenes before things get too serious. Annis doesn't back down either, promising James that he'll look after his daughter. He even says he would run away with Elsa even if James doesn't give his blessing. And in the end, it's settled. Elsa and Annis are going to get married. Two people on the convoy have been stealing food from others for a while. One of these guys claims that he acquired all that food by trading, but the others claim he offered to help out with pushing their convoys, and then he took their food in exchange without mentioning that this was the deal. This would have been a problem anyway, but it is a bigger problem than usual, because one of the wagons they lost in the river had all of the group's food portions in it. They put them in a single wagon because the food was getting stolen, so they thought it would be a good idea to keep them in a single wagon. They thought they could protect it to them, which was a terrible idea. She and Thomas can't let this thievery go. Might remember that they've already taken care of a bunch of dudes who were stealing Noemi's food, though they said Noemi's late husband stole that food from them in the first place. But that's beside the point. One of these new thieves is beaten up by James. Joseph and company reclaim their food, while Shay tells the thieves they're no longer part of the convoy. And this turns out to be a death sentence, not only for the thieves, but also for their families, because that night a group of bandits who have been following the convoy around attacked the people who have been left behind, because they're separated from everyone else. That is what makes Shay's decision a little bit messed up, because he's not just punishing the thieves, he's leaving children and women vulnerable. And by this point, Wade had already warned Thomas and James about the bandits, because Wade found a campfire at the start of the episode, so they were definitely a lookout, and the next day they see some smoke in the distance, realizing that the people they left behind were attacked by bandits. They come up with a plan to bamboozle them. They pretend like they leave Joseph and his wife behind to make the bandits think they are easy targets. Their leader approaches Joseph's wife, she shoots him. Joseph appears and fires his weapon as well, and then the wife finishes the job. The other bandits appear, and a chase ensues with the bandits running away toward the convoy as James, Shay, Thomas, and Wade chase them. The people in the convoy are ready as well. In fact, Margaret is able to shoot one of the bandits, and in the meantime, Shay and company take care of all the remaining bad guys except one. That last bandit is making his way to where Elsa is with the herd. Ennis was just there to warn Elsa, so Ennis and the remaining bandits are riding toward each other. They exchange shots. Ennis is fatally wounded. His last words to James are, "I love you." Elsa arrives at the scene, and Isabel May does an exquisite job of conveying all the emotions Elsa is feeling. She is in disbelief at first. She looks up to her father, not sure if this is actually happening. And once she actually processes the fact that Ennis is gone forever, she starts wailing. The way her expression changes when she spots the bandit who killed Ennis is astonishing. You can see how her grief turns into anger, and how her anger turns into rage. She goes over to the bandit to end his life, and this is how she loses her innocence for the second time in this episode. She now knows what the fangs of oblivion mean. She realizes she hasn't figured it all out like she thought she did. Prior to this, she had never lost someone that mattered to her this much. She had seen death, but it never really touched her until this moment. This moment showed that even though you can make all the plans you would like, the world's got its own plans for you.
With meditation, even my master's, at a level that supports more respect in the community, but also to look at myself with that level of respect and to say, I deserve to be in the room. Start your comeback today. African Portal, happy to you.
Your business ain't limitless. That's like unlimited.
The sixth episode focuses on Elsa's emotional recovery following Ennis's death. She's suffering like this for the first time in her life, as she's lost someone she truly loves for the first time, which is a new experience for her. We quickly learn that it's highly unlikely she is pregnant because she has her period. They show this to us to inform us that Elsa's probably not going to have to raise a child on her own. To comfort Elsa, Shay approaches her when she's sitting next to Ennis's grave. Shay has lost his family to a disease, so he knows what she's going through, and he speaks to her about what keeps him going, starting with the idea that you trade souls with people you love, so a part of them lives within you even after they die. He thinks that when they pass away, a little piece of you dies with them, but there is still that part of them that's inside of you, and he believes they can use your eyes to see the world. This is a touching observation by Shay, whose goal is to save the ocean because that's what his wife wanted, and part of her still lives on inside him, which is why he's hoping to show her the ocean, maybe then she'll appear to him. That is Shay's dream, what keeps him going. He might not buy it, but it doesn't change the fact that it helps him psychologically, and also boosts Elsa's morale just a tiny bit, at least enough to make her return to the herd because they need her. Moving on, the convoy is getting ready to cross the Red River at Bones Crossing, and this is sort of a trading post where they can get ready for the journey ahead by selling and buying things and hiring people. For example, Noemi wants to sell her late husband's belongings, and the convoy needs a cook, and so on. This is the place to take care of their needs. Margaret thinks it's a good idea to ride into the small settlements with her daughter, but this turns out to be a mistake because someone basically catcalls Elsa and she pulls out her gun on him. The guy doesn't think Elsa's got it in her, but she assures him she does, and we know she's right because she just executed Ennis's killer. Luckily though, James is close enough to get a handle on the situation. He sends the guy away and takes away Elsa's pistol, telling her that you don't point your gun at something unless you intend to use it. Elsa is adamant that she was going to use it, and I definitely believe her, but we couldn't find out if she would because James intervened. sends Elsa to camp while Margaret begins shopping. Though she's not really buying anything because she starts drinking whiskey with the store owner, and they just do that throughout the day. That's because Margaret needs to wind down, as this journey isn't exactly where she thought she would be at this stage of her life. And with everything that's going on with Elsa, Margaret just needs to let loose, and she does. I thought the scene when James comes around looking for her was absolutely hysterical. She was so drunk that all she could do was laugh, and the store owner was the same. They made fun of the way James spoke. I think he said he was going to study the river, and the ladies just lost it, which was the funniest moment of the episode. James does study the river alongside Thomas and Shay, and the plan James has in mind is going to take 2 whole days to enact. They'll run the cattle across first. They will personally take the wagons across one by one, and they'll use wooden boats to get the immigrants across. Later on, a drunken Margaret insists she'll never forgive James for upending their lives and putting Elsa in her current situation, but James assures her even he doesn't forgive himself. He goes on to have a conversation with Elsa, telling her she shot an already dead man, because he was either going to bleed out or they were going to hang him. James tries to argue that what Elsa has done is completely different from what he did back in the Civil War days. He remembers the first man he killed. He was actually still a boy and he was a flag bearer. At first his face was etched into James's memory, but as time went on and James killed more and more people, he couldn't even remember that flag bearer's face. So James thinks his killings are nothing like Elsa because the man she shot is going to die one way or another. He's trying to make sure that Elsa doesn't feel guilty about what's happened, and it's up to you to decide if he is right. I mean, he's somewhat correct, but Elsa still took a pistol and shot a man in cold blood. That's not something that's going to go away with a speech like this, I presume. But for now, it helps. In the meantime, Thomas hires a cook for the convoy. This new hire will be great for the convoy because they can finally start eating some beef. They weren't doing so because they didn't want any beef to go to waste, and that's no longer a problem thanks to the cook. They also hired a new cowboy, Colton, who at first is hesitant about joining, but he decides to do it once he sees Elsa. He thinks he's just going to cozy up to her, but she gives him a deadly stare, which again shows how good of an actor Isabel really is, because the anger she displays here with a simple stare is amazing. You can see just how pissed off she is. Colton eventually leaves her alone, saying to Wade that it's like she's a widow. Wade argues she is because they were about to get married. Nonetheless, Elsa gets better the next day and shares her name with Colton, but she warns him not to flirt with her because he is too pretty for her. She prefers to be the pretty one. So from this conversation, it's clear Elsa is better. In the end, we have another monologue from her about how out here you turn toward the pain and you let it tear into you in the hopes that the devil gets spoiled and moves on to its next target. And I guess that's what happens to her. She embraces the pain, she lets it tear into her, and the devil eventually leaves her alone. Also, hiring the cook isn't the only thing Thomas does in this episode, as he helps Noemi sell her late husband's belongings. Thomas buys her a mirror as a gift, and Noemi's like, "Why me gifts, but you want to be with me?" So she rightly points out that Thomas is the one who is scared here. He is scared to be loved and to give his love, but instead he buys her a gift. But Noemi isn't having any of that, and these two get it on as a result. But I guess now they are an official couple. As episode 7 starts, we learn that the convoy is passing through Comanche land, and thus they have to pay the Comanches a certain amount of money to graze cattle on their land, and Wade calls this a tax. The convoy makes camp here as there's water, and Cookie, the new cook, starts preparing a meal, and they'll finally eat some meat. A Comanche by the name of Sam and his partner are present as well. Cookie is back, and so is Elsa's lust, after grieving over Ines' death for just a few weeks. You know, that's definitely enough time, isn't it? Anyway, our next target is Sam, who by all means is a cool cat, but he's like twice the age of Elsa, and that makes things even weird. They start talking about Elsa's horse, and she calls it Lightning, because that's how fast it is. That sounds like, let's test that out. So they race, and Elsa wins. continue their conversation, and Sam argues Elsa is the lightning, not the horse. He says he'll call her Lightning O'Hare, though he gives her an Indian name, which is also the name of this episode. Elsa wants to learn Sam's name, and she finds it weird when he says it's Sam, as that is not exactly a traditional Comanche name. Sam explains that it was the name of the man who killed his wife, and he took it from the killer when he got his revenge. Elsa mentions the fact that she also killed a man to take revenge, but she did not know to ask him his name. Sam tells her that's a good thing, because with the knowledge of his name, she would know it forever. Elsa gifts Sam some of her hair, and in exchange, Sam gives her his knife, as her knife isn't too sharp. They part ways after this, and at this point, their relationship is entirely platonic. That night, Elsa asks her mother if she's happy, and Margaret says in general she's worried about her son, her daughter, and their safety, but in this moment she's happy because she's with the people she loves. She even says she envies Elsa because Elsa's feeling isn't something that's possible for her. On the other side of camp, Sam and Shay talk about bandits, and Sam says the direction the convoy is headed is more dangerous, and that they're the perfect size for big enough as a gun and small enough to fight against. Sam also says they're still having a war in the northwest, which is the convoy's destination, and Sam thinks they should just stop in Colorado instead of venturing into the Montana, Wyoming area, but they'll have to worry about that another day as they've got more pressing concerns at the moment, like the upcoming storm. Ideally, they would head out at night, but Shay doesn't think the pioneers can handle that, so they wait until the morning. Cookie is gone by then without having said a word, and we don't even know if he abandoned them or if he was just trying to get ahead of the storm. The convoy gets on the road in the morning, and I'll say this from the top. The visuals, the music, the direction, the action sequences, most of that stuff from this point on looks and sounds great. So on that front, they've done an excellent job. The storm eventually causes a tornado, and everybody has to leave their wagons and their horses to find low ground and ride out the storm. Elsa waited and let the herd go instead of chasing them. Sam comes back to help, and this is where things get kooky. Sam and Elsa lie down, and Elsa is quite scared, screaming at the top of her lungs, and then she decides to make out with him to, I guess, avoid screaming. Cave in. Everybody magically survives the tornado, and the storm disappears entirely after Elsa kisses Sam. Elsa's horse manages to survive as well, and she gets on it with Sam to look for the other horses. They find them, and Sam leaves after saying that this is her only true. Shay and Thomas catch up, and Shay says they have a total of 8 wagons left, which is not enough for 26 adults and 22 children. That's how many people there are in the common. The nearest town is Denver, and they won't make it there in this condition, so for now they think they'll have to return to Dawn's Crossing. Shay looks for and finds Thomas's horse. Shay then comes across Cookie, and he confirms that he headed out at night to get ahead of the storm, and he's now back. Cookie also mentions that 6 cities were with their herd, so Shay gathers everyone and they go after them. Wade and Colton stay with the pioneers in case the bandits double back, while James, Thomas, Shay, and Elsa go after the bandits. Margaret is pissed off when she learns about this from Colton, so she takes his horse and goes after Elsa, though Margaret isn't involved in the main action until the very end, when she has to kill one of the bandits who managed to get away wounded. Margaret was already in a fragile emotional state, and having to kill a man isn't going to do her any favors. But let's talk about the main action sequence. They find out that there are actually 13 thieves, not 6, so our protagonists fan out wide and take positions with their rifles. Elsa is told to run away. Shay, Thomas, and James all get shot, but none of their wounds are too serious. In the end, this trio kills 9 bandits. The 10th one gets away wounded, and he's killed by Margaret, while the remaining 3 gets past James, Shay, and Thomas to chase after Elsa. Luckily, Sam and his companion, as well as an unknown man, come to the rescue, and they deal with these bandits. The 3 men who saved Elsa check in on Shay and company, And Mystery Man is apparently Charles Goodnight, who was a legendary real-life cowboy back in those days. We also have to mention that he is played by Taylor Sheridan, the showrunner and writer himself. I couldn't recognize him at first, to be honest. He looks so much different with that beard, but I think he did a pretty good job as Charlie. She and Charlie know each other, and it sounds like he'll join up with this outfit, at least for a little bit, because they need all the help they can get. Episode 8 kicks off with a roundup of horses. Charles Goodnight and Sam are with our main protagonists, and Sam thinks they should target the stallion, catch him so that the others fall in line and follow him. And this fun 2-minute sequence culminates with Sam and Elsa carving out the stallion and catching it. Shay tells James that Elsa is starting to ride like a Comanche, and Charles says that's a compliment. After they round up all the horses, Elsa notices that her pants got torn and she tries to repair the tear. When her mother points out that she's got another dress she could wear, Elsa rebukes her for this suggestion because she would rather wear a beansack. Sam's people arrive at camp, which has been in place for 3 days now, and the pioneers are scared at first, but Shay reveals he asked them to come here to retreat because they need provisions whichever way they decide to go. Shay and Charles have a conversation about that just prior to this interaction, with Charles saying that taking the convoy to Denver would be the wise choice. James doesn't care about the quote-unquote wise choice because it's not what the pioneers want. They want to go to Oregon, and so does James, and he makes his disapproval known. He's not going to Denver, and he's definitely not turning back and heading to Dawn's Crossing. As the Comanche set up camp and trading begins, Sam brings Elsa to a seamstress because he knows her patched up pants won't do the job. She needs an extra layer of protection if she's gonna run around like a cowboy. She needs some leather in her life, so the seamstress gives Elsa some chaps and Sam pays for it. Charles leaves the early parts of this episode, and Shay goes on to explain to the pioneer that they'll reach Laramie, Wyoming in October, meaning that they'll have to cross South Pass in the Rocky Mountains in the snow, which, let's just say, is not an ideal time to make that journey. They could stay in Laramie during winter, but that's not a safe place either. There are other options to go to Denver and spend the winter there, but the problem with that is the pioneers will have to be maids and miners, just like they were back at home. And that's not what they want. They want to get to Oregon as soon as they can and have their own land. They're not very patient either, so staying in Denver is not ideal for them. And this is what James interjects to tell everyone that he's heading north, and anybody who wants to ride with him is welcome. But he makes sure to point out that he will not cuddle them and protect them the way Shay does. No, James will make them work and they'll have to keep up. Shay thinks James is going to get them killed, but James argues people die in Denver too. At least this way it'll be their choice, and that is the point. These people are dreamers, they have a goal in mind. They've come this far with that objective. James thinks they should be free to make their own decisions, and they choose to go with James. The focus shifts almost entirely to Elsa and Sam at this point. Elsa makes it known to him that she doesn't want to leave, she doesn't want to see mountains. Sam responds by saying that mountains are worth seeing, and he eventually tells her that he himself can take her to see mountains, and in their minds, it's settled. They want to be together. So Sam heads out to see James and to offer him something for his daughter. Before we can let them go, they come across a bunch of bison, and as far as I know, they were close to extinction during this time. There were like 500 of them at the end of the 1880s, and it was actually Charles Goodnight's wife Molly who managed to save one of the last southern bison herds. This was around the mid-1870s, and the American bison remained in danger for decades to come. Getting back to the show, though, Sam and Elsa go hunting, and Elsa's experience is completely ignored as she gets rid of the bison with her first try by shooting it behind its ears. She does this with ease. Sam tears the bison's heart out and takes a bite. Elsa takes a bite first because this is tradition. The bison's strength becomes their strength. We could speculate that this is what influenced Elsa even further and makes her feel like she could become a part of the Comanche which is by getting together with Sam. She gets even more courageous after biting the heart. You can definitely spot her arrogance in the next scene when she's talking to Shay, asking him where he's going. The way she looks at and dresses Shay exhibits her pompous nature. Thomas and Shay were talking before Elsa arrived, and Thomas reveals that he has to stay with the convoy because he promised Noemi that he would get her to Oregon. Thomas claims that the convoy won't make it without Shay, which is why he's asking for something from Shay for the first time. Thomas wants Shay to stay with the convoy, and Shay obliges, demonstrating the camaraderie between these men. Meanwhile, Sam makes his way to the Duggan camp at night to explain the Elsa situation. James asks his daughter if what Sam is saying is true. She confirms it, and she is praised when her mother tells her they won't allow it. Elsa says she's 18 and she's free to do whatever she would like. James doesn't stop Elsa from walking away with Sam, despite Margaret's objections, because he thinks that whatever he does will make Elsa want Sam even more. Shay pays a visit to James with some booze, and he reveals that he'll stay with the convoy, but he understands that James is the living room. Sam and Elsa do the deed at night, and Margaret chats with her daughter in the morning. Elsa doesn't change her mind when Margaret goes on about why Elsa doesn't understand what she's feeling and doing. None of that really affects Elsa. However, she says she'll go to Oregon with the convoy and return to Sam after this journey. James and Sam also had a conversation that day. James is much calmer than he was with Ennis when Ennis and Elsa met together. He was furious back then. This time around, he calmly asks Sam a few questions, like what he would do if Elsa changed her mind, and Sam says he would bring her back to her family. James also wants to know how and where they would live, and that answer is quite easy for Sam because he knows Elsa isn't going to just want to settle down. What they'll do is they'll chase bangles together. James and Margaret make fun of Elsa that night, pointing out that at this rate, Elsa will probably fall in love again by the time they get to Nebraska. They get on the trail the next morning. Elsa has a Comanche dress now, and she bids a temporary farewell to Sam after agreeing that they'll meet here in June. Elsa shouts that she loves him, and Sam responds in his own language, which logically Elsa can't understand because she only learned a few words in these last few days. I doubt her Presco's ready enough to grasp what Sam is saying here, but it looks like she actually understands it because she talks about what Sam says in her narration. Anyway, Sam tells her she's the wife of a warrior, so she's a warrior now. They part ways, and Elsa notices the way everybody's giving her judgy looks, but she doesn't care. After she wastes everybody's time by keeping them waiting, Elsa comes up to her father and says, "We are wasting time," as if they're the ones responsible for that and not Elsa. And that's how episode 8 comes to an end. There's a big time jump after episode 8. It is September now, and from Oklahoma, the convoy has made its way up north to follow the Oregon Trail. They've made some considerable progress on the trail as well, because James is the convoy's new leader, and instead of treating the immigrants like a bunch of babies, he's making them match the pace he sets. Because of that, when the 9th episode begins, they're somewhere between Fort Laramie and Fort Casper in Wyoming. They are approximately 8 to 10 miles off of Casper because Cookie says that Casper is 6 hours away. The convoy is getting close to the Rocky Mountains and their plans to make their way to South Pass because it is the lowest point between the central and southern Rocky Mountains. That plan has to wait because they come across a Lakota campsite where multiple children and women have been brutally murdered and assaulted by a group of horse thieves. James, Shay, and Thomas take a closer look to assess the situation, which is a massive mistake because they leave their own tracks near the campsite, and Shay eventually recognizes it as blood. So when the recorded men who went hunting come back to the camp, they will see and follow these tracks, thinking that the Dunn convoy is responsible. As if that wasn't enough, Joseph's wife falls off her horse after it gets bitten by the snake. She's injured and Joseph gets bitten by the snake as he tries to help her, and things get even messier. Colton is on the case. He kills the snake and applies a tourniquet to Joseph's leg to block the blood flow to try and prevent the venomous spread. Colton then cuts and sucks on the bitten area, spitting out Joseph's blood. This is only an initial measure, and both Joseph and his wife have to be taken to Casper because they need doctors. But if the convoy gets on their way without addressing the horse thief problem, they will be hunted down by the recorded men. So she thinks they need to hunt down the thieves, kill them, and take them on the horses back to the husbands. William and Colton stay with the convoy while James and Thomas go after the thieves. Elsa wants to join in on the fun as well, but her father doesn't let her. He is lagging behind and catches up only after the aforementioned trio go after the thieves. And because there isn't anybody there to tell him what is what, Cookie decides to continue riding until he gets to Casper. He is spooked and he tells the others they're welcome to join him. All of them do, because they're also afraid of the looming threat from the Lakotans, who will definitely think that this convoy is responsible for the massacre. Margaret, Elsa, and John can't stay behind on their own, so they, alongside Colton and Wade, start riding toward Casper as well. Margaret orders Elsa to put on a dress because they don't like what she's wearing where they're going. And although Elsa is hesitant at first, she eventually complies, and this is where things get interesting and where the suspense skyrockets. I say that because she puts on the dress from the flash-forward sequence in episode 1, when we saw her get wounded by an arrow. With that scene on the back of our minds, the rest of the episode gets quite tense as we are watching the convoy being led to slaughter like sheep. Meanwhile, James, Shay, and Thomas find the thieves, whose leader is played by Charles Baker, and you might remember him from Breaking Bad as Skinny Pete. Anyway, this guy and his group are self-appointed deputies of the Wyoming Stockgrowers Association. He explains that they killed the people at the camp to bait the Lakota men, and they plan to kill them too. Tensions between these groups are running high, and gunfight breaks out at this point. Our guys kill the 3 thieves. They also deal with 5 other guys without breaking a sweat, and they're ready to head back to the convoy. But they will not make it back in time because the Lakota men have come back to the campsite, and they are already on their way to get revenge. The Lakotans scout the convoy off screen, and they go around them to get ahead of them. So the Lakotans attack from in front. They kill Cookie first because he's ahead of everyone else, and they do this just as Elsa was approaching Cookie's wagon to get an update on their journey, but she sees the attack and starts riding back to the convoy. Wade steps up to the plate here and circles most of the wagons to set up a defensive position. But 3 wagons keep on riding because they are in shock, they are afraid, so they try to run away. And Elsa decides to go toward these 3 wagons to lead some Lakota men away from her mother and brother, as well as the majority of people on the convoy. She knows she might have a better fighting chance if she runs toward the main group, but she chooses the selfless option to give the main group less people to deal with. She's eventually knocked off her horse by one of the men, and we finally get to that flash-forward scene from episode 1. She wakes up and goes on to kill one of the Lakotans, but she gets wounded by an arrow in the process. The others converge on her location, ready to kill her, but she starts speaking Comanche at that moment, knowing that she's going to die. She wants her last words to be in that language. You could also argue that she did this in order to give the Lakotans a pause. I personally don't think so. I really think she thought she was going to die. But nonetheless, the Lakota leader pauses to ask Elsa why she knows those words. She explains that her Comanche husband told her, and she also tells them that they didn't attack the camp and that her father is taking care of the men responsible as they speak. After learning about this, the Lakotans leave and they don't kill Elsa. They find James soon afterward because James and company came back to the campsite and saw that the wagons were gone, so they headed out in the convoy's direction, and James explains that they're taking care of the guys responsible. He tells the Lakotans where their horses are, and the Lakota leader says no more fighting, as they all go their separate ways. Meanwhile, Well, Fulton checks in on the separated group, and the woman is still alive. Though she's wounded, her husband is dead, and she got scalped. So I say she's alive, but she's on borrowed time. And because of that, Fulton decides to end her misery and feels horrible for having to do it. But Shay tells him to stand behind his decision because he did what he thought was best. She was going to suffer for days and then die anyway. In the last 15 minutes of the episode, the family gets to grips with Elsa's situation as James figures out that the arrow has most likely done irreversible damage to her liver. Though they have removed the arrow and cauterized the wound, James and Margaret have an emotional conversation about what to do, and they decide that the best course of action is to let Elsa live the way she's done so far, because the alternative is to go to the doctors who will just hold her up until she can't see straight. They won't be able to fix her, or James argues that there's no point making Elsa's remaining time on this earth completely miserable. He promises Margaret that they'll stop their journey wherever they have to bury Elsa, and they will settle there so that they can visit her grave. And we know from Yellowstone that the Dutton family settles in Montana and sets up their ranch there. Margaret is able to take this all in, and you can definitely see how helpless she feels. Earlier in the episode, there was a moment when James told her he loved her, and she didn't say it back. And you might remember that she had to kill bandits in episode 7, but now she's losing her lure. There's nothing she can do. They appended their lives in Tennessee for a better future. That was James's dream, but every dream has a cost if you want to make it reality. Elsa reads the situation perfectly the next morning from the way her father and mother are acting, and she's also feeling worse from a physical standpoint, and this is when she realizes she's going to die. You better grab your tissues before we talk about the finale, because things get quite emotional in this one, as we say goodbye to multiple characters. We begin in Fort Casper, where Elsa passes out at the gates, and unfortunately for her, this isn't much of a fort. It's practically being abandoned. That's what the doctor tells Shem during that Jerry is handling Elsa's wound, saying that they should head back to Fort Laramie because he can't treat her here. Well, to be fair to him, Elsa can't be treated anywhere because even if her liver repairs itself, the infection has taken hold of her body and it'll be impossible for her to survive. That's because the wouldn't stick their arrows in the urine, and you're out of luck if you get hit by one of those arrows. Additionally, the cowboy can't stay here because the fort is run by the head of the Wyoming Stockholders Association, and now guys killed some of the association's deputies in episode 9, or if they are here and that's revealed, they will be killed. They can't just go to Laramie either because the bad guys would know to look there, and they could also track them on the Oregon Trail where they would be easy targets. So instead, they'll go up north and follow the Bozeman Trail, which is why they will have to spend the winter in Montana. James and Shay both know that this is their only option. They know heading back to Laramie wouldn't save Elsa, so they decide to head up north. The pioneers don't like this plan, and they want to see the journey through. They want to get to Oregon as soon as possible, which means that spending the winter in Montana isn't an option for them. Most of them don't listen to Shay's advice, and their stubbornness leads to their demise. We see them get slaughtered later in the episode. Not all of the pioneers get killed though, because Joseph decides to stick with Shay, and so does Noemi. Joseph's situation isn't getting any better, by the way. The venom is spreading, and Thomas believes they have to amputate his leg. Joseph's wife is in an even worse condition. She can't drink water, she can't eat anything, so she's clearly a goner. Also, Fulton and Wayne head back to Texas because Shay decides to let the cattle herd go, and the herd is why this duo was here. So with the herd out of the way, they part ways with the cowboy, but they make sure to say goodbye to Elsa, which was an emotional but also an upbeat farewell. Getting back to Joseph, they have to get him drunk before the amputation, and he takes more alcohol than it usually would because he is German. They eventually get around to the quote-unquote operation, and it's quite difficult to watch because they show you almost everything. And not only does Joseph lose the leg in this episode, but he also loses his wife. So his story is the most tragic tragic ones in the show. They know a lot of other people died in this journey, but living and dealing with the pain of losing your partner all on your own in a foreign land with one leg might be the closest thing to death. Elsa gets out of the bag right after Joseph's amputation, and she thinks it's only been a day since they left Fort Casper, but James informs her that it's been 3 days. We can't call this time dilation in the scientific sense, but it is similar to that from a personal perspective, because her illness is so overwhelming that her internal clock doesn't match up with reality. That's one of the main clues in this episode that's inform us about her upcoming death. They never make you completely hopeless and you're still able to root for her to live, but they make it very clear that her chances are slim. They're just preparing you emotionally for the most likely outcome. Elsa and James have a lot of father and daughter time, and in one of those scenes, Elsa says she's noticed the way her father has been looking at her, as if he thinks she's gonna die, and James tries to explain himself by saying that he's looking at her for what she is, the most important thing to him on this planet, and he says that comes with a lot of worry. He makes her believe that he doesn't think she will die, but that belief is crushed when they get to crow territory. 3 crowmen approach the wagons while James is out hunting, and Elsa tries to ride away, but she is exhausted and falls off her horse. The crow are not hostile, and they offer to help Elsa. Their leader is played by the brilliant Graham Greene. You might remember him from Dances with Wolves. Anyway, the crow try to kill Elsa, but they know that she is too far gone because of the dirty arrow. James makes it back to his family after Shay fires 3 rounds to home, and James' conversation with the crow leader is fruitful because he points James in the direction of Paradise Valley, and James wants to settle there. Also, the crow leader says his people will take back that land in 7 generations, and this could be crucial for the Duck family's future in the Yellowstone show, because I think the youngest descendant is a 6th generation Duck. That is not our concern for now, though, because Elsa finally realizes that she's gonna die for sure. She knows her father lied to her, and all she wants is to treat the spot she dies in. James says she can do that, but they'll have to leave the wagons behind to get to Paradise Valley in time before Elsa dies. James asks Shay to take care of his family and to tell Margaret about this. Shay does, and even though Margaret is angry at first, she comes to grips with the situation. So James and Elsa start their ride towards Paradise Valley, and Elsa eventually picks a spot and they rest against a tree. James asks his daughter if she wants a blanket, and she says, "You'll be my blanket," and that was just an amazing line. It hit me right in the feelings. They also talk about their first memories. Elsa's memory is about her fascination with how smart birds are, because she saw them picking at the ground after the rain, and they were pulling out worms because the rain softened the ground. So her curiosity and the way she observes the world was in place from a very early age. Now, funnily enough, she sees a bird right before she dies and says, "You birds sure are smart." And this means that her first memory and her last memory are quite similar. Elsa goes on to say she understands it now, meaning death, as she claims she's not scared. These are her final moments in this world, but it's not the last time we see her, because she later talks to us from another plane of existence, explaining what she meant. And I quote, "There's a moment where your dreams and your memories merge together and form a perfect world. That is heaven, and each heaven is unique." End quote. So if you were confused, there's no doubt Elsa is dead. Like I said, she's speaking to us from another reality, and that place is filled with good horses, open plains, wild cattle, and a man who loves it. It's always sunrise and there are no storms. She tells us she knows death now, that it smiled at her, and it was beautiful. Some of you might not see this as a happy ending, because in the traditional sense, it isn't. The character dies. But we see and hear that she's got everything she's ever wanted in another reality. That's not going to be satisfying for everybody, but in my opinion, it's a great conclusion. We jump forward in time to learn that Joseph is still going strong, but unfortunately he is all alone. Thomas and Noemi find a place and settle in Oregon, so that duo get the happiest ending of season 1. And as for Shay, his roadmap was always clear. In episode 6, when he was talking to Elsa, he explicitly told us why he was on this journey. It's because he wanted to see the ocean, that's what his wife wanted, and he believed that a part of her still lived on inside him. He was hoping to show her the ocean in the hopes that she would appear to him. He realizes that dreaming thinks the ocean is beautiful, and his late wife does indeed appear to him in the form of a hummingbird. You might think that the bird is supposed to represent Elsa, but because of what we know from episode 6 about Shay's dream that his late wife would appear to him, it's fair to assume that the hummingbird is the wife. By the way, hummingbirds usually symbolize messages from spirits. You might see them in other works of fiction, and that's why the writer chose this bird. After accomplishing his final goal in this world, Shay thinks it is time to leave and offs himself on the beach. He was my favorite character on the show, and it's incredibly sad to see him go, but I think his character arc makes a lot of sense. In the end, Shay went out on his own terms, Elsa lived a short but full life, and James learned that realizing his dream would have a massive cost. Thanks for watching this video and everything else. As always, this long compilation took a lot of time to put together, so I would greatly appreciate it if you like this video. Leave your comments about it in the E3 down below, and subscribe for more movie reviews and TV show breakdowns. That is it for now. Take care and see you in the next video.
The best part about being your own boss, where you get to dictate what you dedicate your time to, which is actually a lie, you don't. My favourite serial feature is the bank feed. It's great to be able to have all of your different bank feeds go into one place.
1923 is the second Yellowstone original story after 1883. It showed the first non-screen generation of Duggars making their way to Montana to establish the Yellowstone Duck Ranch. The patriarchal Duck family died in 1893 after being shot by a horse thief. This was shown to us in a flashback in the 4th season of Yellowstone. His wife, Margaret, apparently died a year later, and not before she wrote a letter to James' brother Jacob, asking him to travel to Montana to save her family. Jacob obliged, but he was too late to save Margaret. He found her frozen in a snowdrift, and her 2 sons were down alive. Jacob and his wife Kara raised these 2 children as their own. All of this information is revealed to us by James and Margaret's firstborn, Elsa, who died all the way back in 1883 before the family's journey to Montana. In her voiceover, Elsa talks about how violence has always haunted the mountains, from the Scottish Highlands to all the way out here to Montana. And this point is made right after we watched Kara killing her dad who was about to kill her. We lack context for this sequence because it is an event from a future episode. And even when violence doesn't haunt Elsa's family, they seek it. That is the case for her younger brother Spencer, who she never met because he was born after the journey to Montana. We met Spencer in a Yellowstone flashback taking place in 1893. This was Spencer then, and this is him now. He's a hunter whose empathy is rooted in his scarring experience during World War I. Spencer is similar to his father James in that regard because James was a Civil War veteran who also had bad memories of war he wanted to talk about. Elsa goes on to mention that only one of James's children lived to see their own children grow up, and that like Isabella, John. This was him. Skipped 10 years and he's all grown up, and in 1923 he runs the ranch with his uncle Jacob. John is married to Emma, and they have a son named Jack, who is also involved in the family business. Elsa concludes her introduction by saying that Jacob made the ranch into an empire, and then the empire crumbled. And that is when 19 So, Jacob is in Bozeman to attend the town hall meeting with John and Sheriff Willie McDowell. We soon learn that a cattle rancher has killed some sheep grazing land that was leased to him, and so the leader of the sheep herders doesn't want this to go unanswered. But why is Jacob conducting this meeting? Well, he's the head of the Montana Livestock Association, whose purview is obviously livestock. Coming back to Banner, he is Scottish and he uses an Irish slur to insult the cattle rancher that shot the sheep. Banner thinks there should be consequences, but Jacob is largely indifferent because he points out the fact that the sheep have ruined the grass, and so the cattle rancher's animals will die too. It's not going to be from food, but from starvation, because there's no grass anymore. Jacob decides there won't be any more grazing on the valley until it rains, and farmers will be a dry summer. He tells Banner they should have leased more land for grazing, and Banner points out that Jacob is a whole mountain range to himself, while everyone else fights for every blade of grass down here. Jacob responds by saying, I have what we found in folks. You want to fight me for it too? I didn't.
Avoid these foods if you want to lose weight fast.
If you're a female and you want to get toned, you want to get fit, you have 15 pounds and you want to lose, you can actually take your body and mold it in any way you want. That's what people don't understand. You just got to really boost your metabolism up, and you're going to have.
Banner wants to continue this heated discussion outside because going up the mountains isn't a realistic solution for him. Bears would just eat his animals, and he basically gets there by grabbing Jacob. So John holds Banner and Jacob holds down to Banner's throat. The sheriff gets there just in time and warns Banner that Jacob is an agent of the state. So Banner should be fighting going forward if he doesn't want to spend a month in jail. Jacob believes that understanding that stealing man's grass is like stealing his steers. He warns Banner that if he grazes another man's lease again, he will have Banner's whole flock. Banner makes fun of the term stealing grass. He is sort of disbelief. He says man doesn't own the grass, the mountains do, and God does. So you're no God, Jacob doesn't. You're no God. That's all. Jacob then attends the Livestock Association meeting where we learn about all of the challenges they're facing. Firstly, there's a drought, and that problem is made worse by locusts. They destroy the grass, livestock cannot get fed. Secondly, prices are going down because many have returned from the war. Their families are now mostly eating their own beef. They don't need to buy it. Jacob's plan is to push all the herds together, take them up the mountains, and protect them from wolves and bears until they fall. That would require the help of a lot of cowboys, but the alternative is worse. There's no grass down there, and the livestock would just die of starvation. So the duck land up the mountains will be able to feed the herd. There is one problem with that. Before the Ducks and other ranchers embark on this truly long journey, Banner and his fellow sheep herders cross into the duck land by cutting the fence wires. The Ducks and the other ranchers start flying, and the sheep, so the herder takes aim and shoots at them. That is the main plot line of the premiere, and it was able to pique my interest because not only are the Ducks fighting rough natural conditions, but they're also up against this with the ability that these conditions will permit them to circumvent rules and their very reason. You can certainly sympathize with the plight of Banner and herders, but that doesn't give him the right to prioritize his own livestock over others who actually make money to lease land. Those rules are there for a reason, and because Banner broke them, the range war is about to kick off. His shenanigans will not end well for him because he's playing games with other people's livelihoods. Time to rewind a little bit and go down to Jack's personal life. He is supposed to be married in less than a week, but by up the mountain means he won't be back in time. When his fiancée Elizabeth finds out that the wedding is getting delayed because the cattle drive cannot wait, she tells him to go and do the deal with a cow up in the mountains. Karen knew that Jack would be able to handle this situation, so she arrives afterward to patch things up, and she explains to Elizabeth how things work. Elizabeth's father, Bob, owns the neighboring Stratford ranch, but she's been away from home for a while to study. Kara says that if Elizabeth truly wants to spend her life with Jack, she's going to have to get used to stuff like this because it's just beginning. The hurt always comes first. This way of life is easy, but the plus side is the freedom, the kind that most people don't even know. Elizabeth says that Jack makes her dizzy when she's with him because she can't breathe without. But she will learn this life and Jason can be with him. Kara brings Elizabeth back to Jack, and as they kiss, Bob watches on the farm with Jacob. In the meantime, Jack's uncle Spencer is busy in Africa. He starts off by tracking down and killing a specific lion. He then travels by train to Nairobi, Kenya to kill a leopard that is causing some trouble at a campsite. There's a flashback of the showing Spencer during the Great War. His leg is broken and he can't retreat with his fellow soldiers. We see him kill a whole lot of enemies and he eventually wakes up on the train and pulls a gun on the reporter, which is a reaction posed by his nightmare. Spencer and his two fellow hunters are out at the camp, and these two serve as bait while Spencer waits outside the tent with his rifle. However, we soon find out that there are actually two leopards, and one of them meets a British woman Spencer met earlier in the day. Spencer shoots the leopard, but he's not able to save her. He relaxes for a second, thinking that the job is done. No, his friends shout that there's a second one, and that one jumps at Spencer. We don't see what happens to him, but I'm guessing we should know it. For me, this was the most enjoyable part of the premiere. Spencer's PTSD has made him so obviously disillusional that he can't go back home. He probably drowns out his war memories by hunting animals in Africa. He constantly puts himself in immutable, wildly dangerous situations, because what else is there to do after tasting the feeling of avoiding death and surviving? And his mind cannot fathom living a normal life back in Montana. Kara keeps running letters to him from time to time, wondering why he's not coming back, and she assumes that it's because Spencer's seeking a part of himself that he lost during the war. We also pay a visit to a government boarding school for Indians. Missionaries were sent to reservations to set up these sorts of schools to assimilate Native Americans into society, and we know how these things go. Abuse, violence, the whole shebang. It's horrible. We watch this through Tiana Rainbow's perspective. She is presumably an ancestor of Thomas from Yellowstone. Sister Mary keeps in Tiana's hands until she has enough and strikes back. She beats the living crap out of Sister Mary, and they both take him to the headmaster's room. Father Dano lashes out and punishes Sister Mary for her lack of compassion. He then turns his attention to Tiana and starts whipping her. He says he has compassion, but no mercy. We see the damage when the students take a bath. Tiana is badly injured. Tiana and Sister Mary agree that they should try to avoid going to Father Renault's room from now on. And as Tiana speaks to her friend tonight, she figures that all their friends and family that have left this school must not have survived because they've been writing letters to Tiana even though they promised to. She doesn't think they made it out, and she's not sure she will believe it.
It's time, your time, not just to go back to school, but to come back and move forward with Purdue Global. Start your comeback today at PurdueGlobal.edu.
Once upon a time, a bunch of teenage girls got stranded in the wilderness and they went completely nuts. Kept on reading them first. I want to know what happened out there. This place will follow us for the rest of our lives. Are you hearing this? What is happening?
Someone wants to kill us.
The only people that know about this are either us or dead.
Let's begin our episode discussion in Africa, where Spencer tries to fend off a leopard attack, which came as a surprise for him because he had already killed the only one he thought was present at the camp. So he stabs the second leopard after it jumps at him. He then tries to shoot it, but it is gone. It's not gone too far away though, because it latches onto one of Spencer's guys. The other guy, then Spencer, eventually killed the leopard, but the guy that got attacked suffers deadly injuries. Afterwards, Spencer finds a doctor to take care of his wounds as he doesn't want to deal with gangrene. He's angry at the camp's leader, Richard Holland, for not informing him about the existence of another leopard, and he knows that Holland did not say he was sorry. Spencer fires off a bullet close to Holland's head, and he forces him to apologize at gunpoint. Spencer goes back to Nairobi in the morning. In fact, that's why he doesn't do anything to Holland. He needs a ride, and at a hotel bar in Nairobi, a British lady by the name of Alexandra flirts with Spencer. Apparently, she and her friend wondered if Spencer was in fact the famous hunter they all heard about. She was the only one bold enough to approach him. She talks about all of Spencer's famous kills, some of which are made up, and she mentions the one he killed with his bare hands. He wants to know if she believes everything she hears, and she says only when she wants it to be true. Spencer is confused as to why she would want that to be true, and she says for the romance of it. When he argues that there is no romance, Alexandra wonders why he would do it. And Spencer goes, quote, because dying is the most alive you'll ever feel, end quote. Alexandra asks him if he doesn't see the romance in that, and the voice inside Spencer's head is like, she's got a point. Alexandra's friends take her away because, guess what, she is engaged. This conversation further solidifies a point I made in my initial one breakdown about how Spencer constantly puts himself in the middle of wildly dangerous situations because there isn't anything else to do for him after tasting the sweet feeling of avoiding death and surviving.
Go make a coffee. 0, perfect.